Dreamers, but according to Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats, that's just not enough.
Well, the president last night sent out a couple of tweets that Democrats are not interested in border safety and security or in funding and rebuilding of our military. They're only interested in obstruction.
It's just preposterous. They want to keep the issue, the broken system, they want to keep that broken because they can run elections off of it.
The White House now responding after terror attack in Afghanistan. President Trump saying in part, quotes, the Taliban's cruelty will not prevail.
The FBI under fire, accused of refusing to hand over key text messages.
It's just the latest in a string of controversies as that bombshell FISA memo could be released any day now.
This is a really extraordinary situation. We're going to find that the Democratic Party, this is kind of the first shot in the resistance.
I didn't, but I like anything Toby Keith, so I'm all right with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Come on.
Let's get your morning started because we have a busy week.
Welcome to the couch on this. It's Sunday, right? Sunday morning in January. We got Griff Jenkins, Rachel Campo-Stuffy. We've been here all morning. We're having fun because it's National Have Fun at Work Day. We're going to bring some of that to you today. You'll hear noises of arcade games downstairs. Ignore, if you will, while we try to get there. It is right there.
Miss Pac-Man.
We'll bring that to you later in the show, but there's a lot of news as well. That's a fail. I get that in my ear a lot. You just don't always hear it. We're glad to have you here, and a lot of news. We'll get to it right off the top, including preparations for the State of the Union. President Trump preparing to give that address on Tuesday.
We now know what he'll be focusing on Tuesday night.
And Ellison Barber is live in Washington, D.C. with the details. Ellison?
Good morning to all of you guys. The senior administration official says the theme for the speech is building a safe, strong, and proud America. The official briefed reporters and said the speech will be forward-looking, but they also said the speech is going to be somewhat of a, quote, victory lap. The biggest headline, the economy. In the official's words, it's roaring. The president will talk about jobs and the economy. That includes tax reform, tax cut, deregulation, and possibly college savings. He's also expected to talk about infrastructure, immigration, trade, and national security. 5 Democrats are planning to boycott the president's address. Representative John Lewis, a noted civil rights icon, said he'd probably skip the address because of what Trump reportedly said about Haiti and African countries during that now notorious immigration meeting. Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg won't be there either. She'll be in Rhode Island speaking at a law school, and that's something that was announced in August, about 3 months before Speaker Paul Ryan announced the date for the State of the Union address. Griff, Rachel, Pete.
Ellison, thanks a lot.
Thank you, Ellison.
Thank you.
There'll be a lot to watch for. This is the height of so-called Washington, D.C. political theater, and you have two polar opposites. You've got the Democrats who have spent their first year completely resisting this president, so you see a few skipping the State of the Union. But then you see the incredible success of the first year, almost unprecedented, with the stock market and the economy, a dichotomy that will play out as Republicans or Democrats choose to stand or not. We always kind of watch that and how often they do. Of course, you've got the destruction of ISIS as well, which is a pretty nice little footnote there. It'll be very interesting TV.
It really is. I mean, he just came off this triumphant trip to Davos that everybody said was going to be a big fail and turned out to be pretty awesome for him. And now he's going to take a victory lap on the economy and on ISIS. Something we don't talk enough about is what he's done in his first year. So you're right. The Democrats are going to have a hard time. How do you not clap when you hear about unemployment levels down so far for minorities, and you're sitting on the Democrat side? Do you clap? Do you not? Or do you just skip out like Maxine Waters?
Well, and what reporters like myself are going to be watching for is what the Democrats do when he brings up immigration. That is really, you know, the elephant in the room. The president last night tweeting about what has been in his words, obstruction. Let me read you the tweets we got around 10 o'clock last night. He says, I have offered DACA a wonderful deal, including a doubling in the number of recipients and a 12-year path to citizenship for 2 reasons. 1, because the Republicans want to fix a long-time terrible problem, and 2, to show the Democrats do not want to solve DACA, only use it. He continued with another tweet saying Democrats are not interested in border safety and security or in the funding and rebuilding of our military. They're only interested in obstruction. that being the key word, obstruction there. Any way you cut it, and you look at this, it is the Democrats not even willing to address this opening bid and resorting to essentially name-calling.
Yeah, they've shown their true color. Democrats said, put your plan on paper. Then he did, and then it gave him three times, as you've noted, under the Obama administration, what they ever wanted, the amount of so-called dreamers, illegal immigrants who get to stay, and then a pathway to citizenship. And all they do, Pelosi, Schumer, left-wing groups, you're a racist, you want to make America white again. That response is so telling of Democrats, Rachel.
It really is. I've said for a long time, I think the greatest fear on the Democrat side of the aisle is that Donald Trump will actually take immigration off the table. Because really what this deal does is it resolves the problem with the dreamers that are here already, and it solves the border problem which started it, which means we won't have to come back to this in the future. And Charles Hurt agrees that the Democrats are not interested in striking a deal. He agrees with me that this was kind of a brilliant move on the part of the art of the deal president.
This is absolutely the most centrist immigration plan that we've ever seen in 30-plus years of these people in Washington arguing about this issue. And here is a great meeting point in the middle. Let's all come together and do something about it. The fact that you have these Democrats calling him a racist, making America white again, and all of this stuff, it's just preposterous, and it shows, in my mind, it shows that those people, they're not interested in actually striking a deal. They want to keep the issue, the broken system.
It's quite clear the Democrats are doubling down on obstruction here, even if they say they wanted it. Charlie Hurt in that interview also said, hey, as a conservative, there's some stuff I really don't like in here either, and I share that. It is a big giveaway, $1.8 million. You could classify it as amnesty, a pathway to citizenship. It could have been legalization. So was it too much of a giveaway in an opening bid from this White House? We will see. I think we should reserve judgment on that. But one thing that could be done is to make sure the phasing and timing is done properly. You can't give away amnesty and then hope eventually that you get these things, even if a bill was signed. We've seen that happen before. So make sure the wall gets built. Make sure you you constrict chain migration. The visa lottery system truly ends. Then you can start on the pathway to citizenship, and it should be a one-striker, you're out. If you do one thing wrong as a so-called dreamer to get citizenship, then you've lost your chance.
That's fair enough, and I would say that the point you make about security first, amnesty second, would make sense under any other president, except this is a president who keeps his promises. I actually believe,
I'm not worried about the president. I'm worried about a successive administration or two administrations down the line.
That's why the money is going into it. The money is getting separated. I know you're going to say, oh, we raise trust funds all the time, but it is going into a fund, and I actually believe he's going to do this.
I have no doubts about him and his commitment to security. It's everybody else.
But listen, the reason it hasn't happened in the past, Pete, is because the American people are exactly where the president is on this deal. Do something just go ahead and pull it. Do something for the dreamers. Fix the problem so we don't have to deal with another wave of dreamers in the future. That's what he's doing. Press Secretary Raj Shah actually trying to pacify some of the concerns that people on the right rightfully have. And here's what he said.
I think the president is showing leadership. The president has always said that he wanted a responsible outcome for the DACA population. It's a pathway that involves 10 to 12 years. They have to engage in the system. They cannot commit crimes. They cannot. They have to pay back taxes. We're going to end extended family chain migration across the board for all new entrants into this country. The president ran on fixing this problem once and for all. If this proposal becomes law, we're going to get a southern border wall. We're going to have thousands of more agents on the southern border. We're going to stop the flow of illegal immigrants and the flow of illegal drugs. And for that, in exchange for that, giving a pathway to citizenship for people that came here as minors, we think is a fair and reasonable compromise.
I think conservatives should fight to make it better, not fight to blow it up at this point, and then judge it based on the final product.
There's another story we got to talk about, too, that we're going to hear more about after the State of the Union. That is our Washington Post, back where I will be heading soon, has this headline today, if we could put this up. Trump sought release of classified Russia memo, putting him at odds with the Justice Department. This is very much a story that Americans are interested in because it's about the transparency in seeing our government at work. And Congressman Ron DeSantis talking about this memo that we've heard about, these texts. Here's what he has to say.
That memo's coming out, Judge, and when it does, it's going to answer a lot of the questions that you and your viewers have had about how did this Steele dossier come into the possession of the FBI?
Okay.
Did the FBI use it to get FISA?
Let me
and
ask
then
you
once
this.
that is public, then I think we have the ability to really press for people to be held accountable. I think that once the memo is released, I think that there's going to be calls for a special counsel, 2 sessions from all these committee chairmen who are involved in it, and I think it's going to be hard for Sessions not to do that.
To back up a bit, because we talk about memos all the time because we follow this day to day. This is the memo written by Devin Nunes and the House Intel Committee that lays out the FISA warrant process, how it may have may not been used by high-level DOJ or Obama administration officials to surveil the Trump campaign. Is there there? What were the motivations? What do we know? What are the names? This is a classified document. Your husband has seen it. A lot of people say there could be some big bombshell things in there, but until the public sees it, we can't really judge it. So the White House is agreeing with House Republicans that this memo should be declassified and shared with the public, which would be very revealing and could come as early as this week.
But the DOJ and the FBI are saying, no, don't release that. There's some stuff in there that American people can't see. So there's a big conflict.
Isn't
there.
Andy McCabe still over at the FBI?
Yeah, you wonder why they're not releasing that.
Well, and that's a good point, because the reason why we mentioned Andy McCabe is because, again, forget which memo came from where, whatever. The important takeaway is whether or not your government and people at the Department of Justice and FBI used political bias, for which we have been submitted to. The president is under investigation for more than a year.
Yeah, whether they used the dirty dossier paid for by the Clinton campaign as an excuse to spy on the Trump campaign.
So some of the guys who may have been a part of that process don't want us to see it.
Right, isn't that odd?
But Trump does. I think we're going to get a chance to see it, and it could be very revealing. Well, stick with us for the rest of the hour. We've got a good one, including rapper Jay-Z, now the latest celebrity to slam President Trump. Watch this.
Looking down on the whole population of people, and you're so misinformed because these places have beautiful people. Now we have Donald Trump, the superbug.
Superbug. And he did not stop there. We'll play more from Jay-Z in a bit.
Plus, another Democrat says he's confident his party will change the balance of power in the midterms. But what are the chances of that actually happening? Scott Rasmussen breaks it down for us next.
Welcome back. Well, another Democrat sounding off, confident his party will flip Congress's balance of power in the upcoming midterm elections. They're staking a lot on this. Chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, Cedric Richmond, saying, quote, "For the first time since I've been in Congress, I really think it's a real possibility. We're going to bust our butts to make sure we take back the House next year." But is he right? Here to break it down, pollster and editor-at-large for Ballotpedia, Scott Rasmussen. Scott, good morning.
Good morning.
So we hear a lot about Democrats feeling that their chance to get a lever of power is the House of Representatives. Update us on this.
Well, they do have a chance. I mean, let's be clear. My projections at scottrasmussen.com right now show that if the election were held today and you got a pretty decent Democratic turnout, they would fall just short.
This is assuming a good Democratic turnout.
Right, which is a midterm election.
Sure.
I mean, that's a normal thing. At this point, the Republicans would end up with 221 seats. Democrats would have 214. Paul Ryan would have an ulcer. Would that narrow a majority?
Sure.
And clearly, with a lot of time left, anything could happen. Far from certain.
But a month ago, these numbers may have been flipped and could have looked a lot different.
Things looked a lot better for the Democrats a month ago. In the Real Clear Politics average, the Democrats had about a 13-point lead on the generic congressional ballot. It's down at Real Clear to about 7.9 points right now. The latest Fox poll showed it being just a 4-point edge, and most of the recent polls are showing about a 6-point Democratic advantage. And as you know, when you go from a 13-point edge down to 6, not only is the trend good, that dramatically changes the potential in the House.
Changes the potential. So talk to us about some of those changes and why they came about.
Sure. Well, that poll, when the Democrats were up 13, it was before the Republicans had passed tax reform.
Got it.
A couple big things on this. First of all, it was the first time the Republican Congress passed anything under Donald Trump.
They were a do-nothing Congress until
right. This gives Republicans a reason to say, well, I think it matters that our guys are in charge. The other thing it did, of course, it positioned the Republicans to take advantage of a turbocharged economy. They can say this happened because of our regulatory efforts and because of tax reform.
If people are richer come Election Day, that's a good thing for Republicans.
Especially if they're blaming...
As long as they're given the credit for it.
I was just going to say, exactly right.
Yeah.
Now, the next thing that's also helped, this shutdown was a victory for the Republicans, and as Donald Trump likes to say, you know, people like winning. I think it was bigger than that, though. They liked the fact that Donald Trump was fighting the Washington Post and the New York Times and the political class.
Sure.
he also had a better strategic understanding of what was going on. He really left the Democrats in a no-win position on the immigration issue, something that we're seeing playing out in tweets and the responses of Democrats ever since. Trump understood that instinctively going into the shutdown debate, and that's why he won.
Absolutely. Immigration tied into this as well, which we will get to. But first, we'll start with how Democrats have pushed for impeachment and what that means.
Yeah, this is the, it takes a little help from your friends segment of why the Republicans are doing better. Tom Steyer and other Democrats really want to be talking about impeachment. And that sounds great if you're in the deep blue districts that the Democrats are going to win no matter what.
Sure.
Most of the districts the Democrats need to win to get a majority were carried by Donald Trump. That's just not the message you want to go into that with. You want to be going in talking about issues that are going to matter to those swing voters.
So you say they're being pulled to the left by billionaires like Tom Steyer who want to talk about climate change and impeachment, not wallet issues that hit these swing districts that they're going to need to win.
And every time that happens, it takes time away from talking about an issue that matters to people.
So you got the State of the Union coming up, a big issue, immigration, but what can he do?
The president is going to continue to press his strategic advantage. Right now, he's got the positioning where he wants to make the grand bargain. Forget all the details. The bargain is pretty straightforward. Protect the dreamers, provide real border security. That's a position most Americans want. It's a position that extremists on both parties struggle with. But the Democrats, if they're saying we don't care about border security, bad place for them to be. So I think the president can continue to press this advantage.
And this last map shows us the current lay of the land. So you're conceding that Republicans likely lose some seats. The question
almost certain they're going to lose.
Almost certainly. The question is, do they keep enough to maintain the majority?
If you go back to the last 10 midterm elections, the Democrats would have about a 40% chance of picking up the number of seats they need to win control. So it could happen, just don't know.
Well, things can certainly change, as we've seen with
long way to
bills
go till
passing
November
and speeches given. We'll keep having you update us.
Thanks,
Pete. Appreciate it, Scott. Thanks a lot. All right, still ahead, Stuart Varney, Anthony Scaramucci, and Maria Bartiromo all coming up live. And the real-life story, this is a very cool trailer. I can't wait to see the movie. 3 American heroes who stopped a terror attack on a train. It's hitting the big screen. Our own Kevin McCarthy sits down with Clint Eastwood and the stars of 1517 to Paris. The real-life heroes, next.
I'm here to deliver a simple message. There has never been a better time to hire, to build, to invest, and to grow in the United States. America is open for business, and we are competitive once again. The American economy is by far the largest in the world.
That was the president on Friday in Davos. This tweet is just minutes ago from the president. He tweeted this, saying, "Our economy is better than it has been in many decades. Businesses are coming back to America like never before. Chrysler, as an example, is leaving Mexico and coming back to the U.S. Unemployment is nearing record lows. We are on the right track." Here to weigh in, Stuart Varney, host of Varney and Company on FBN. We're back in business and we're on the right track, says the president.
You ain't seen nothing yet, says me. Next week, anybody who pays tax, federal income tax, their paychecks go up next week. And you've got another round of bonuses coming, increases to 401k plans coming. You've got the big technology companies next week. They'll be bringing back hundreds of billions of dollars to the United States. Where's it going to go? Some will go to shareholders, some will go to the workers. You've already got a growth rate of better than 3%. Going towards 4% at the end of this year. That's what the president's saying. Look, we're open for business. Why don't you guys out in the rest of the world, why don't you join us?
Why don't you try capitalism?
He doesn't actually go that far, but he's saying, look, we're open for business. We're on the road to prosperity. Join us. And that was a naked plea for money. Bring your money here. Put it to work here. You'll do well. That's what he's saying.
He's a salesman.
Yes, a very good salesman, too. It was a very restrained, conciliatory speech he made at this Davos forum last week. And I think it'll be the same at the State of the Union message on Tuesday night. Conciliatory, come on, get together, we can get this thing done. That's what he's doing.
He also said America first, but America not alone. I spoke to some European friends of mine. You're a former European, and they said, we wish our leaders would do this for our country. So, you know, people want a cheerleader for their country, and we have some good news. We have a great economy, a great place to make business. So I think it was a great message in Davos. It was pretty triumphant, if you ask me.
The president is no longer apologizing for America.
Yeah.
This president is saying, America's a pretty good place. Come and join us. We know what we're doing. And I think it's resonating very strongly.
Stuart, let me change gears a little bit because you are a legal immigrant here.
Yes, sir.
And this immigration plan is out there. What do you make of it?
I think America is a very generous country. It is not a racist country. And when I hear people label our country as racist, I actually take it personally. In my family, there are 3 races, 2 religions, and 7 nationalities. We are extremely American. That's us. That's what we are. And to be called racist is an outrage. We're not racist. We're a generous country. And I think President Trump's offer on immigration is a generous offer. Quite simply, it's this. You build the wall, you ensure border security, get rid of the chain migration, or at least change it, and you fix this lottery system, and in return, 1.8 million dreamers can stay and get a path to citizenship. He went further than most people expected him to go. Now, look, the right is going to reject this. It's amnesty. Okay, got that. The left is going to reject it. Okay, it's racist. I don't think they want to solve the problem at all. They want to keep the flow of Democrats coming into the country. But nonetheless, the 2 extremes will reject it. I think there are enough votes in the middle in both parties to get a deal based on the Trump offer of last week.
You're in pretty good touch with the base of the Trump voters. This is also a country of laws. He ran against amnesty. He said that's not what does he run any risk potentially of alienating some folks that said this is not necessarily what we signed up. Even if we trust you, President Trump, we don't trust Washington, D.C. to follow through faithfully on some of this stuff.
If there was a border security deal first, if security is in place first, then I think the country would be much more open to allowing the dreamers to stay. But that's a priority. You've got to fix the mess first. Otherwise, if you let the dreamers in and let them stay, if you do that first, then you're opening yourself up to the same old problem a couple of years down the road.
Absolutely.
The border is open, in they come, and you've got a problem. No, wall first, security first, then the dreamers stay. That's the deal. It's a good deal.
So if they get this, if the president gets this done, what is the economic impact of a plan like this?
That's hard to say. I think it would take a big political issue off the table, but it would leave open the fact that we are short of labor in this country.
Right.
With a 4.1% unemployment rate, you don't have many unemployed people to put into the workforce, and the workforce is expanding. So you've got to cross that bridge. But remember, even if you get this deal on immigration, you're still letting in 1 million legal immigrants every single year. And if we get this deal, we'll pick and choose who we want. What's wrong with that?
Listen, I'll tell you,
Absolutely nothing.
Nothing's wrong with that, and I think that's the problem the Democrats have. They are not about to let this president solve the immigration problem. Stuart, it's been great having you. You're always the best insight on this couch, especially when it comes to the economic news.
If you were picking and choosing now, I'd hope you'd let me in. But there's no guarantee.
Right under the wire. Right under the wire.
No guarantees. No guarantees.
You're in, Stuart.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
We're happy to have you as an American.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, turning now to your headlines. The Mall of America stabbing suspect pledging his support to ISIS as he pleads guilty. Mahar Abi Rahman's attorney reading this chilling statement in court. I want the reason for my attack to be clear to this court and to the public so that you may understand that you will never be safe as long as your country is at war with Islam. The 20-year-old is accused of stabbing 2 shoppers in a Macy's dressing room in November. 7 people rescued from the Pacific Ocean after drifting for 4 days without it went down. It's believed there are no other survivors. It doesn't look like President Trump will be saving the date for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's wedding. The president telling Piers Morgan he doesn't know if he'll be invited yet. Despite the apparent royal snub, he said, quote, I really want them to be happy. They look like a lovely couple. And they do. There have been rumors that Prince Harry will invite former President Barack Obama, though. President Trump firing back just moments ago at Jay-Z, the rapper, saying this when asked about the president's alleged comments on African countries.
Everyone feels anger, but after the anger is really hurtful because you're looking down on a whole population of people, and you're so misinformed because these places have beautiful people. You know, the bugs come and you spray something and then they come and then you create a super bug. Right, because you don't take care of the problem. You don't take the trash out. You just keep spraying whatever over it to make it acceptable. And then, you know, as those things grow, then you create a super bug. And then now we have Donald Trump, the super bug.
Now, moments ago, the president tweeting this. Somebody please inform JV that because of my policies, black unemployment has just been reported to be at the lowest rate ever record it. And those are your headlines. You know,
important detail.
I'm sorry, I love Donald Trump. This is why, you know, people criticize him for being the first reality TV president. He understands culture. That was a cultural moment. By replying to Jay-Z, that message will get out to a lot of African Americans.
It sure will. So it's true, though. When unemployment's down, it benefits absolutely everybody.
That's right.
All right, well, President Trump condemning the Taliban after dozens are killed in a suicide bombing in Kabul. But our next guest says Pakistan is the key player in the bloodshed in that region. Former CIA officer Gary Bernsen here to explain next.
Plus, Diamond and Silk will join us. I said Diamond and Silk. Don't get up from the couch. Don't move out of bed. Diamond and Silk are weighing in. And nothing's more important than that. That's coming up.
That's a lot of hyperbole, but I do love them.
I love them, too.
This is a Fox News alert. The death toll rising following that Taliban attack in Kabul yesterday. At least 103 killed and more than 230 wounded when the terrorists drove an ambulance filled with explosives through a security checkpoint.
Our next guest points to Pakistan as a key player in the bloodshed. Gary Bernsen is a retired CIA station chief. He joins us now to explain. Gary, explain to our viewers, you know, a bomb goes off in a secure area in Kabul, and ultimately where people are, obviously you've got the folks responsible for that, but people are pointing across the border to Pakistan to say, we don't fix this until we address that. What do you say to that?
Good morning, Pete.
Good morning.
Part of the problem, of course, a larger part of the problem is that Afghanistan has been dragged into the larger conflict between India and Pakistan. Since partition in 1947, India and Pakistan have been at each other's throats because Pakistan was trying to seize Kashmir. Between India and Pakistan, there's a border, but they don't call it a border. They call it the line of actual control. That's where their military forces are. So everything Pakistan does is in the context of its struggle with India. So they've looked at Afghanistan, Pakistan has, for strategic depth. They want to control all of Afghanistan because their fear is if the Indians invade Pakistan, they want to be able to fall back into Afghanistan. And that was the reason that Pakistan created the Taliban in the 1990s. And at one point, the Pakistanis even thought about storing nuclear weapons in Afghanistan. How's that for crazy? So the point here is that with the Americans on the ground there, and the Americans have allied themselves with India, India is gaining an influence inside of Afghanistan. The Indians are giving like $1 billion worth of scholarships. They're doing all sorts of things there. This really makes Pakistan concerned and very, very worried. But the point is this is instability in Afghanistan or recontrol, if the Taliban were to seize control of Afghanistan again, the Pakistanis would control it, they would control that space, and they look at it in the larger narrative of their struggle with India. But the problem is they're killing Americans.
Yes.
The Pakistani support to the Taliban, to the Haqqani network, to any of these militant groups, these 24 militant groups that have operated over their borders, and the million jihadis that have been trained on their territory in the last 20 years, injures and hurts and kills Americans right now. And so, therefore, President Trump's statements against them were spot on. We can't do anything here until this problem is fixed in Pakistan, and we may even have to start crossing the border more aggressively to deal with these with the Pakistanis if they don't stop this.
So is that the plan, Gary, then? I mean, look here, it's clear that Pakistan is providing for the safe haven for the Taliban. Let's just call it exactly what it is. Do they go across the border? I mean, let's not forget that bin Laden was found basically in the shadows of Pakistan's version of West Point, and yet when we asked him where he was, he said, nope, no idea where he is. Do we go in?
Yeah.
What does the president do?
Well, the point here is we have to act against those militant organizations in those sanctuaries. And we can either do it or we can do it with surrogates. The point is look, I was the person that was the architect of what we did in Tora Bora, and the Pakistanis helped bin Laden get out there too. So, you know, so I was thrilled to see the SEAL teams kill bin Laden at that point. But the Pakistanis have been playing a double game against America for the last 30 years. And so, therefore, we need to cut them off politically, cut them off economically. We need to put significant pressure on them. And you know, they have been significant sponsors of jihadist terrorism for the last 30 years, and President Trump is calling them to account. But the Pakistanis, they won't say it publicly. They'll say, oh, they think that they're like Elliot Ness, that they're fighting terrorism. They're fighting these people on their territory, and they have put some pressure on them. But look, they could turn over Siraj Haqqani to us tomorrow. They should.
Maybe if the president continues the pressure, we will get him back, and we should. Thank you for giving us a lot of insight in this. A lot of people don't know all the background, and you really were pretty amazing in explaining it to us. Thank you so much, Gary.
Thanks, Gary.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Bye-bye.
President Trump set to deliver his first State of the Union on Tuesday. What should American people expect? We'll ask former White House Communications Director Anthony Scaramucci at the top of the hour.
Plus, one group is making it their mission to help veterans get elected to Congress. They will unveil their first set of endorsements. Coming up next.
Partisan dysfunction is at record highs. Our country needs a new generation of leaders. Leaders who sacrifice for each other. With Honor supports this new generation of veterans who run for office and pledge to work together and get things done, regardless of their party. Republicans.
The organization With Honor is making it their mission to help veterans get elected to Congress and put, quote, principles over politics in Washington.
Joining us now with their first set of endorsements is the organization's co-founder, a veteran himself, and the CEO of the organization, Ry Barkott. Ry, thanks for being here this morning.
Thanks for having me on.
So first, talk to us about With Honor, what it means. You served in 2005, 2006 in where was it, Ramadi?
Fallujah.
In Fallujah.
Yep.
So now you're wanting to continue to serve by starting this organization. What is With Honor?
Yeah, thanks. So no surprise, Congress dysfunction, record highs, polarization near record highs, and veteran representation is actually near record low. You know, it used to be as high as 70%. Now it's as low as 19%. The good news is that there are over 150 veterans, many of whom served after September 11th, who are running for House seats alone from both parties. And unfortunately, for many of these vets, the cost to run for office creates an incredibly high barrier. So what WithHonor.org is doing is we're helping to lower those barriers to entry, to elect a new generation who can frankly work together, get things done in this place, and but face high barriers to entry. So we're helping to lower those barriers.
Well, right, and you know, on your With Honor mission statement that I was reading about, it's not just helping veterans. You believe that there are things that veterans like yourself and Pete have learned in combat and their experience that really would benefit the nation if they were elected.
Yeah, you know, I've heard some people refer to this as a school of the nation, where, you know, when you serve in the American military, you serve with folks from all stripes. In fact, it often doesn't even, heck, most of the guys I knew with in a Ford operating base or rolling in a Humvee, you don't know what their political party is. It doesn't matter. And, you know, that's what we need. We need to get back to that to help fix this place. Now, no one individual alone is going to do it. That's not the point. The point is to build a coalition, 20, 30, 40 members who are next generation, who can actually come into this hyper-polarized place.
All right, so we've only got about a minute here. You were going to roll out your first three endorsements.
Yes.
Two Republicans and a Democrat.
Two Republicans and a Democrat.
Who are they?
Kenneth Sheets, Van Taylor, and M.J. Heger. And I'll tell you about Kenneth Sheets in particular is a inspiring
Republican in Texas, right?
He's in Texas. He served also in Fallujah in 05, 06. Came back, started his family, had a career in the private sector, and like many of these veterans, is running a hard race against folks that have more access to affluent networks, but is the right type of person.
A lot of these are challengers in open seats. Kenneth Sheets, Texas 5, Van Taylor, Texas 3, M.J. Heger, a Democrat, Texas 31. So you started in Texas, and you'll be moving out from there.
That's right. With these, just stay tuned. WithHonor.org, these are our first endorsements. We're starting in Texas because that's the first primaries. They start as early as March.
Oh, so you tell me you're strategic. Did you learn that in the military? Okay,
learned a little bit about that.
I see. Thank you for your